This is my studio. These are mostly the works I've been working on lately. I'm inspired by ukiyo-e, which is a very old Japanese woodprint art. And I'm making sort of contemporary ukiyo-e works now. This one is actually inspired by the sunflowers of Van Gogh. Van Gogh was also inspired by ukiyo-e, and he made actually a series of paintings about it. I thought it was funny to do a small reference to the sunflowers and show a bit of my autobiographical life in COVID. Um, it was a very hard time. And this is also a work I made about COVID. Such as I said, I feel like there's very little attention paid to COVID and the personal, experiences of people during COVID. For me, this was the first lockdown in summer in Amsterdam, which I thought was funny because we were actually living in lockdown. We were only allowed to have 1.5 meter distance, but in Amsterdam were actually the most parties happening. I feel that is because young people were very bored and lost all their hope, and that ended in a lot of partying, drug abuse, suicide attempts, such as you can maybe see here happening. No, just kidding. And I also made a small reference to this famous painting of Hokusai, The Wave, um, which is maybe the most valuable piece of work I made. This is a painting I made of my neighbor Dennis and his cat Herman. He is one of the biggest Ajaxites and hooligans I've ever met. I thought it was funny to make a work about Dutch nationalism because I feel that's a little bit taboo lately, and I don't understand why, because everyone is so focused on race and color and why is Dutch nationalism bad? Maybe it's because it's a little bit reference to other people, to like Nazis or um, white privilege, which is funny because this is actually about Ajax and it's about Jewish people, so it's definitely not an Nazi activist work. And I think the golden centuries, actually, we were so very successful, and I don't think there's so much attention anymore paid to that. And I feel like people are complaining a lot about the Netherlands, but we live in one of the few countries which has a lot of privileges for us, such as welfare, police which are not corrupt, which I experienced in Mexico, and I made this small work there. This is actually the police, but it could also be the cartel. There was a cartel war going on, and when I was there during COVID, I noticed the difference between the Western world and the rest of the world, and everyone was so scared of COVID, while people were actually laughing there a little bit about us being scared because people were dying there every day, killed by a cartel or the police, or yeah, something other crimes happening. And yeah, I think the whole COVID situation was very much focused on anxiety. And also, my work is also about overpopulation, which questions me still if there's a um, reference between the two. Battlefield on Valentine's Day was a work I made actually in the week before Valentine's Day. It's about like COVID, the effect it had on most relations between people, and I saw a lot of breakups happening during this time, and I made this work. You can see there's a lot of war going on, and some dolphins found love, which yeah, kind of like gives a good image of the situation of that lockdown. This is the work I recently made in Thailand. If you can read Japanese here, it tells a story about the Japanese people found the reason to finally find a reason to kill sharks now, and they're very happy about it because there's now a new mutation of COVID in sharks, and now they can justify killing all the sharks. And yeah, that maybe it's a little bit racist toward Japanese people, but I am Japanese, so I feel like I can be racist. I'm allowed. This is my work, Baggy Blue. It's inspired by the view Western people have on Asian people too, and it's also I noticed that a lot myself, and I find it also interesting that my Japanese look and name is always part of how people interpret my work. So I like to play with that blurred interpretation sometimes, because my work was always about the implication of culture. But I noticed that there's always, for other people, an idea that my work is about Japan. So now I like to play with that a little bit, and also, the focus on race or gender from the artist who made the work instead of the work itself. And it's also a small reference to one of my not very favorite hip hop artists, but just Wu-Tang Clan. And this is funny. Yeah, it's kind of funny because before people were always making jokes about me being Japanese, but now that doesn't happen so much. But I do notice a bit more racism towards Asian people than before. There was always a bit of Asian fetishizing, which people say is also racist, but at some point there you can just discuss about everything being racist. But I did read that lately there's a lot of violence towards Asian people, and especially to Asian women, which is more in a sexual way. Negative violence since COVID. That's why, I made a sort of joke about the Wuhan clan tattoo. For me, it kind of seems almost like a Jewish star. Um, yeah, it can also be seen as a sort of reference to the whole feminist Me Too topic. Because when I showed this um, painting to other people, people notice very much the look the guy has towards the girl, but it's also could be seen as just some weird warrior yakuza sort of situation, but also kind of sexual. So I think it's funny to play with that reference, and also the tear. People find it a very sad image, but the tear, uh, yeah, could um, be seen as sad, but it's actually uh, mostly noticed. Uh, yeah, mostly known as someone who killed another person, which yeah could be seen as this sort of yakuza image, which is created.